I'm again joined with our resident CX expert, Martin Corner.
Hi, Richard.
Let's jump in. Today we are going to get our geek on, and we're going full tech. And I know that you love this topic because this is your background and your bag. So let's talk about some of these technologies that are available that people can really use to supercharge their CX. I think we just should start with that topic on everybody's mind at the forefront. AI, ChatGPT, how are we going to leverage that in the contact center? And how is it going to really start to supercharge a customer experience for people?
Generative AI especially is going to absolutely revolutionize the contact center industry. There's so many different opportunities and so many different touch points where AI can really help to improve that customer experience, agent experience, just improve the whole thing, make it much more efficient and improve things for the customer as well.
Could you give us some examples of that, Martin?
Let's dig into one specific area. So email, for example. Email as a channel is very difficult. It's difficult because it's long-form text. Customers can put multiple queries in the same email. You can have HTML in there. It's very difficult as a channel. What we can do with generative AI is things that we've never been able to do before, which is summarize that email content. So take something from long-form email content and break it down to actually this email contains 2 queries from the customer. It's query 1, where's their order up to, and query 2, got this other order from last week that they want to return. We can then pull out other bits of information from the email. So if they've already provided us those key things like their order number, their postcode, maybe they're the bits of information we need for identification and verification of that customer. We can pull those bits out as well. And suddenly we've taken this really unstructured piece of text and we've taken key elements out of it, and we can use those programmatically. So it provides opportunity for automation or just making the whole thing more efficient, so we can provide the agent with the information they need straight up. So that's one really small area where we can do work wonders with AI.
So you start to cut down on the time the agent needs to actually even read the email and try and figure out what the customer's asking for, and you can interpret the email just through Gen AI. Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and as you'll have seen with ChatGPT, where you've experimented yourself, this isn't complicated stuff to do. We can do it through a chat interface. We can just throw these questions out there. It's all about structuring the right prompts, engineering the right prompts, and then getting back that information that you need in order to help the agent and help the customer.
I mean, that sounds like a really practical implementation of AI in terms of something that you could do. Is there any other kind of subtle ways that AI is infusing CX? Because, initially when I think of AI, I think of something big, grand, and, we're going to take all the agents away. But what you just described was AI working to help the agent achieve something. Is there different ways that you could do that as well? Because email, I'm not going to lie, email sounds a bit old-fashioned for CX. So how about all these new channels that we deal with on a day in, day out? Does it work with that too, or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I went for email there because it's the most complicated example. It's the hardest one for us to deal with. So that's an area where AI can give us the most benefit. But there's all these small touch points all the way through the customer journey. So, for example, when a customer's on the phone with us, or when they're on WhatsApp with us, for example, we can analyze the sentiment of every single one of those messages. That's a service which uses AI in the background. Once we've got that sentiment, we can do things like track the progress of that sentiment, or the curve of that sentiment across the customer journey. So where a customer might come to us with a complaint, starts off as a negative sentiment, as you'd expect. That's fine, we expect that. But as long as throughout the progress of that call or that chat, the curve trends upwards, and by the end of that call or chat, if the customer's happy with a positive sentiment, that's a successful contact. We can then do that across all contacts that come into the contact center. So rather than just maybe 4%, there's quite a standard number, 4 to 10% that we see, where you can run manual quality assurance. Suddenly you're doing quality assurance on 100% of the contacts coming into your contact center. We can flag up the ones which had negative sentiment at the end of the call and flag those up for manual quality assurance. So again, just one small thing, which is sentiment analysis, but it can have a huge impact on the contact center.
So that's really interesting. So tracking that sentiment in almost near real time throughout the call, there's always been training and tracking and QA in terms of recording calls, and those are all post-event. But if we have the tool to be tracking that in real time, do we also have the ability to action workflows so that we could actually intercept that call if it was going maybe the wrong way?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really key area where a supervisor might be monitoring a team of 10, 15, 20 agents. They can't be listening into all of those calls to see what's going on. But what we can do is we can flag up the sentiment to the supervisor so they can see maybe, this call with this specific agent, the customer sentiment has gone quite negative. At that point, they can choose to start listening into that call. The other thing we can do is we can flag up when certain trigger words or certain actions happen, and all in real time as well. So, for example, if the customer starts saying certain phrases like, I'm thinking of leaving, or like to speak to your manager, those kind of things, we can flag that up on the supervisor dashboard just based on the real-time transcript of words that they're saying. And then the supervisor can choose to jump in at that point, barge into that call and help out with that situation as it's happening, rather than having to phone back later on and deal with what might be a bigger fallout at that point.
That's interesting. So, we can even analyze the speech in terms of what they're saying and take some action to workflow on that as well. So, if some key phrases, I'm just thinking, if you're a mobile phone or some other kind of subscription service I'm thinking of leaving, do we have the ability to then surface stuff to the agent in terms of promotions and retention kind of workflows and steps that they should take so that it starts to take away some of the manual thought process for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So surfacing the right information to the agent at the right time is something that's really important. So I think, first of all, when a contact first comes through to an agent, even before it got through to them, we should already know what the reason is for contact, so we can collect that from the customer just using their voice, so get them to tell us what the reason is for contact in their own words. Then as soon as that call comes through to the agent, the knowledge base should already be open, searched by that query, have the right article up in front of them with the latest information. And yeah, that's where it gets really powerful. Then as the customer's speaking, the topic might move on from the problem to something else, talking about renewing the contract, for example. We can then surface different articles to the agent. So we can say, actually, now we're talking about retention, or now we're talking about renewals. And so here's the relevant information that you need, the step-by-step to follow in order to retain that customer, or in order to upsell that customer, for example.
Wow. That's some really cool stuff. What you're laying out there is just loads of interactions with a person, just talking natural language, and then having their queries analyzed before it even reaches the other person, just to help resolve everything. That's pretty cool. It must be stuff like that must be a big relief even for the people who are handling those calls, so they're not just having an angry customer shout at them with no context.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think having the right information there is really key. The benefit of that is that information changes over time. These knowledge base articles shouldn't be static. They should be always having the latest information. Agents are trained once, and then it's up to the agent to be reading that knowledge base and always learning the latest information. If we can save them having to scour those articles and just pop up the one line of text or the two pieces of key information that they need right in front of them, so they can just read that out to the customer, it means that the agent can spend more time looking after the customer and doing the stuff that agents are good at, rather than just trying to keep them busy, trying to keep the customer occupied while they quickly scour the knowledge base.
Absolutely, that sounds great. And I guess if you're looking at it from a slightly different lens as well, there was some stats from the CIPD where the average yearly turnover of staff on the first line agent level, if you like, for contact center workers is over 25%, which is really high attrition rate. And I guess if we start to take away from what you've just described there, the need for that knowledge retention that only a few select superstar contact center agents are going to have, it could probably provide a much more consistent and accessible customer experience for customers and agents alike.
An agent who is brand new to the contact center compared to an agent who's worked there for months or years, it brings that difference right down, so you get a much better experience from those junior members of staff. You reduce the training time, You can be looking at weeks of training time before somebody's actually dealing with customer queries. So we can reduce that time right down, have the information right there in front of them as soon as they need it.
So those all sound really cool. But I mean, we spoke about voice, spoke about email, but obviously there's many communication channels and avenues that people want to communicate on. So, chatbot, web, Messenger, WhatsApp, Facebook, all of these things. I mean, can you apply similar or the same things across all of them? And how would that work for an agent in terms of bringing it into to one person? Do you have different agents for different things, or?
So I think the important thing when choosing a contact center solution is choosing something which can be truly omnichannel, so supports all those different channels that you just mentioned. And the reason for that is that you can start to use the same technology across those channels. So you can build your automation, you can build AI into the automated journey, and you can just build it once and then reuse it, whether it's voice that's been transcribed and then going through the AI, or whether it's WhatsApp, it's already in text form, so it can go straight through you're building it once and then reusing it across those different channels, having a single unified experience for that agent. So they're not having to learn how to handle WhatsApp. They just handle WhatsApp the same way they handle Facebook Messenger messages. They're just learning it once and then reapplying that into those different channels.
Wow, fantastic! Sounds like the technology is really starting to get to the point where it can become a bit ambient to the users and actually start to enhance the experience. Is there any other kind of tools within the world of CX that you think people should be tapping into? Because I see this as an interesting point about surfacing the data, but contact center environments can be quite stringent on things like compliance, taking payments, etc.
One area that is always difficult for contact centers is compliance when it comes to taking card payments. Taking card payments over the phone is, fraught with problems, isn't it? Agents can write those numbers down. We quite often see agents with a notepad open on their desktop. If they're writing card details down, that's an absolute nightmare for PCI compliance. So specifically a product that we offer is Smart PCI, and that will completely remove the agents in the contact center from PCI scope. So the portion of the call where the card's payment is being taken isn't being recorded. The agent isn't able to hear any of that card information or see any of that card information. So the payment's taken, and then the agent comes back into the loop. It also supports fully automated payments as well.
Oh, nice plug.
Yeah.
Really great. And you mentioned earlier as well about workforce optimization and workforce management tools. Obviously, there's specialists out there in the market who've been writing these things for years, and they all seem to be based on similar things. But I just can't help but think from some of the things you mentioned around AI that you could actually leverage and utilize these to do even more advanced training and insight. So is that world changing now and adapting?
Yeah, absolutely. And any business, any company that you're working with that isn't looking at AI and looking at how they can build that into their products is not going to be successful in the long run. It's absolutely a key area, and the level of efficiency that generative AI will bring is just, is absolutely huge. So we need to, I think when you're choosing products and choosing third parties to work with, you need to make sure that that's part of their strategy. It might not be part of the product right now, but it needs to be fairly soon. Otherwise, they're going to fall back and become less competitive.
Amazing. Okay, great. Well, thanks again, Martin. I mean, I think in this whole webinar series, we've covered a broad range of topics, haven't we? I think the one that's always stuck true throughout is that customer centricity view, surfacing the right information at the right time about the customer to help deliver the best quality customer experience. And then what you tapped in today was really about choosing the right technology set that's going to actually grow with the organization, be flexible enough to adapt to the customer and their requirements, but also surface all the right insights at the right time and analyze them in a way using things like AI to take the menial tasks away from that employee, improve their experience so they can look after customers better.
Yeah.
So I think there's loads to take from these sessions, and thank you very much for joining me on them.